Oh, the dogs might be barking tonight.
It's good timing.
Double NFL. We've got double handicappers. Hey, I'm with two old ladies who bet and stuff. Now, before you guys start blowing up my DMs, let's clarify what's going on here. I am with two old ladies who bet and stuff with Tony's Picks handicappers, Mindy Hahn and Tiffany Mance. We've got two Monday Night Football games. We need two handicappers. Mindy, hi.
Hi, how's it going? How was your weekend?
Well, still kind of trying to find out or figure out whether I just saw a lot of good football games with bad teams or bad football games with bad teams. I'm not sure yet, but happy that Tiffany Mance is joining us, and I'll send it over to you guys because, like I said, I've got two old ladies of bet and stuff. I want to keep saying that so everyone gets mad at me and says, "What are you doing calling these lovely ladies old?" But clarify first. I'll just lead in, and you can talk, and you guys can talk, and we'll roll into these NFL games. But really, you guys got your start working together with your handicapping anyway. We know you guys go way back, but handicapping anyway with your web page, with your YouTube channel, two old ladies who bet and stuff, and really that's kind of what got you involved with Tony's Picks. So
exactly.
What's going on, and then we'll talk a little Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Yeah, so we were discovered on YouTube by Tony's Picks because, we're kind of out of the norm, so we're some middle-aged women that like to bet, and we thought that we could basically have women feel more comfortable about getting into betting. And there's also a lot of people that want to bet, but don't know how. So we thought, we're, two ladies that aren't getting any younger. So we thought we would go with the two old ladies that bet because we will continue to age as we go through this whole process. But yeah, that's how we kind of got started for those that were smaller bettors. More women, more people that just wanted to get into everything. And again, sometimes, the older, 40-year-old men are a little bit more intimidating to some of the folks that haven't got into this, so that's kind of how we got our start there with that. And so we like to banter, talk about, sports and pop culture. And we put that kind of all together in some of our videos, and we tried to make it nice and fun. But now that we're with Tony's Picks, we don't have as much time to put together our fun, videos like we did, like a Halloween special and a whole bunch of fun stuff.
We're going to try to find some time maybe to get Tiffany on more frequently, but I thought with two games on Monday night, we'll have two handicappers. Tiffany, is everything that she said about your guys' handicapping and leading up to getting on Tony's, is she telling the truth?
That is true. And what you'll notice is that I am way more comfortable behind a spreadsheet or a computer screen than I am the camera. So that's why we're also a good pair too, because she's a little bit more outgoing, and so she's like more of the face and the voice of two old ladies that bet.
Yeah, well, I was more interested in the and stuff, but we're here to handicap today and talk about the games as well. But Mindy, real quick, though, before we get into, we'll look at the first game tonight with Tiffany. But also, you talk about, the comfortability of the viewers, but also you kind of guided your viewers from early on, a lot of them on the education side when it comes to betting, which is important right now because of the proliferation of betting and really how it's on fire, and more people joining the fray. We've talked about it on shows because not as many women were into betting. I will say, I don't know if anybody, I don't even know if guys are into handicapping necessarily. It's all about the betting, but the percentage of women bettors is growing at a much faster rate than the percentage of men bettors right now. Probably because more men bettors were already involved in other ways and whatever, and women, finding the excitement, if you will, just like every human, right? Once you get in a little skin in the game.
And it's exactly a whole new world with all the online sites. It's just so much easier. And I think the take we bring to this is, see, there's my dog too. I think that we bring to this is that we're conservative bettors. I mean, we're $5-10 game bettors. So I think that some people are afraid to get into it because they think you have to bet $100 a game. I'm like, you don't have to. You just have to be consistent and disciplined is what you need.
Indeed, that is the case. And of course, our handicapping and our picks are geared towards a little bit higher end, but that's
Right.
the starting point. That's the entry level point for everybody. So just because we do sell our best picks over at tonyspicks.com doesn't mean that you can't watch these shows where we give our free picks out and just have a little bit of skin, like I said, in the game tonight, especially when you got Monday Night Football doubleheader. So let's just talk about those two games because Tiffany's only going to be with us for the first game we're going to look at, but we'll look at both NFL games to start the show. Thanks to all the viewers for coming in. Yes.
Animals
got,
and
we've got
They're
more
used
than-
to it with my cats walking through here.
If they see each other, I don't know what's going to be interesting. Okay, so let's just take a look. Mindy, go ahead and introduce this game. You guys will break it down for me, and I'll just take a back seat.
Yeah, so the two old ladies that bet and stuff, we were trying to kick off a YouTube channel and perhaps try to get more women involved. So we thought maybe, hey, we'll do like hair and makeup tutorials along with sports betting.
Okay.
So that's kind of the and stuff that we thought that we would do as we went, because that would make more women come to our site and then perhaps learn about sports betting, which was our whole goal in the first place, was to have a subscription service to sell our information. And that's what we do here is we do all of this hard work. We accumulate all the stats, and then we feed that back out to you in a way that we think is going to be profitable over the long term. And we know that because we have a proven sports betting strategy. And that's the same thing with you, Ramon. You've had this strategy for 30 years, and now you're here out there telling the world about it, basically. And, and I think that is most of it too, is that we've always done everything, not for us, but for the folks that are out there.
Yeah,
All right.
about it. Yep, let's go ahead and get it. I was kind of going to add, I'll let you get into the.
No, go ahead, Adam. You're fine.
Yeah, no, I'll let you get into the game, but one thing that Tony is proud of, and if you read his profile right here on the site, I mean, we're the only multi-handicapper site, and there's, I would say probably about a dozen of them that I follow that look like our type of site. I call them, might call them competitors, if you will, but we're the only one with two ladies on the staff handicapping. So one thing Tony did was when he started his site, he kind of made it a point that because he's taken pride in the fact that he has I don't know about you call it pave the way anymore because of so many ladies that really are breaking into the field of, especially on YouTube, handicapping shows, upping their profile because of Instagram and doing hosting and things like that as well. But he's proud of the fact that you guys are on the site and that he likes to expand and show that everyone can play this game.
Exactly. All right.
And for us, it was just a natural progression because we both have like math backgrounds and we both like sports. So it really was just, we were just fortunate to kind of, really enjoy this and do well at it. So we're glad to be right.
Mindy, I'm going to cut you one more time. I'm going to let you get into this game, and we know Tiff's got to go. But you talk about the work that they do. Let me just do it right now and take a look at yesterday. If you were on board with our two old ladies that bet, your stuff went up big time because they hit yesterday at 67% on their premium picks on the site. Take a look at it right there with Mindy, with Tiffany. Strong NFL Sunday, probably with some baseball in there. I mean, you don't even want to know this part of the card or get right into Titans Bills, but great job. And also take a look at the weekly leaders there. Tiffany, Mindy right on top there at plus 1,300 units. So you're having a great week. Mindy had a great weekend. We'll break it down a little bit, but I just wanted to get that in there because we have Tiffany here. Strong day for the two of you. So great job.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, we're starting off Monday Night Football with some of Tiffany's favorite fantasy players. Derrick Henry used to have a lot of AJ Brown, had maybe a Tannehill for quarterback. So let's take a look at this. Titans at the Bills. Bills minus 10, over under 47.5. So Tiffany, what do you got today for us?
I think the Titans are going to cover. I don't necessarily think they'll win, but I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. The defense on both teams have not been the strongest. They got Von Miller now, who's going to make a difference. But I think Derrick Henry's a beast, and they're gonna score back to back. I think it's just going to be score. It might be a 1 touchdown win, but I don't think it's going to be 10. And I also think that the Titans had a tough loss last week. So they're coming back to prove something today too. So I think it's going to be a tough game. Again, I don't know if they've got enough to win it, but I think they're going to cover that 10.
So your official pick is going to be the
Titans
at -10.
Yeah.
Or I mean, Titans +10.
Yes.
All right. The official pick, Tiffany,
Yeah.
Titans +10. Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things like, the Titans like to, cover the spread. At least they've been, doing that, so far here, in the past. I like how they spread the ball around, lately as well. They spread it to 9 different receivers. I think they'll look a little bit more here to perhaps Robert Woods, get him more involved in the game plan this time. And also, I mean, it's nice to have a healthy Derrick, Henry. So, I tend to, kind of agree here that, the Titans look, pretty tough here. But yet we know that Josh Allen is out there and he's going to be putting up the numbers. He puts up over 300 yards of offense. I expect them to continue to be efficient. They were 9 of 10 on first downs last game. And then you have like some starting tackles that may be out here for the Bills. So then that means, Derrick Henry will probably get the ball here a little bit more too, and have that extra room. And that's what I see. I see this one being a lot of scoring, a lot of fun. So I like the over the 47.5. I know that's come down from 50. But yeah, I mean, I think this one is going to be Bills, Titans. I think it might be a little tough here, but I like the over.
I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring too.
Exactly.
They couldn't have done better for us, especially like I said. I don't know if these were good games with bad teams this weekend or whatever, but I think they've saved us two pretty good games. Tiffany, do you like this little doubleheader on Monday night? The 2 games are going to overlap a little bit, but do you like that concept of the 2 Monday night games?
Well, yes, because I like football. the more is always better. But at the same time, as an old lady, I'm like, let's start these earlier so I can still go to bed on time.
Well, at least the days of, those 7 p.m. starts where you guys are at, I think those are gone, so that's okay. We're getting them, and they're playing them, overlapping them. I don't know if I'm all in favor of that, but I'm on the West Coast. I kind of want them more spread out, but that's okay. Maybe if one's a blowout, we can always go over to the other one. So, all right, Tiffany, man, thank you. I know you're going to have some premium picks today. You better. I mean, you're on a little bit of a roll, so you'll have premium picks there. And Mindy, I don't know. You just gave out the over, and Tiffany gave out Tennessee. I think I'm just going to sit this one out. We gave them a side and a total, so I'm just third wheel here.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, Tiffany, you already had some plays in overnight on the site. So what do you have there?
I got my best picks, my best bets for NFL and MLB, $15. So go to the site, check out all of our pages.
But pick those up early. Early is better. Get those lines in. That's why we do the morning steam. We give you the best time to get your best bets in.
Yeah, and Tiffany's got the profit guaranteed $15 best bet on one of the Monday Night Football games. So I think right there that says it all. That's an introductory price, really. So that's great. So pick that play up. It's guaranteed. If you don't win, you get those credits back into the account. So it's nice to have some picks loaded up, ready to go for Monday Night Football with Tiffany Mance. Get on board. If you look at these 2 old ladies that bet and stuff, you can blow up my DMs. But again, yesterday, the 2 of them combined to go 67% on NFL Sunday, part of Mindy's big weekend. So Mindy, get Tiffany sent on her way, but say your salutations and thank you, Tiffany. Great to see you again.
Yeah,
And I know you'll be back now. Now that we got kind of a decent, when you're already up and running,
Already taking the kids off to the bus.
running the house and running the show and running your picks on Tony's Picks.
all right. I'm going to take off, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's great to see Tiffany and again, Mindy. Just a great weekend for the two of you, really. Over at Tony'sPicks.com. Maybe we could look real quick again, take a look at those plays that you had, and just talk about your weekend, but maybe mostly tell me about what we saw on Sunday. We'll start with some of your picks, and maybe that can just lead us into some of the discussion of the games yesterday before we look at game 2 on Monday Night Football. But you look at the some of the winners you had, particularly in the NFL. Look at that nice run. You had the under in the Bengals game. You called it. I was wrong, but I guess I was wrong because I didn't know that Cooper Rush was going to be, the second coming. I hope that that's for real for Dallas while he's in there. I mean, Dak's going to be back. He's going to be, replacing Cooper Rush. I don't know unless Cooper Rush goes, 4 or 5-0. I don't know. I don't even know if that would be enough
Right.
to
I
just
don't think so
place
either.
Dak at this point. But if he can navigate through this, we're on with a Dallas team that, certainly had a few question marks. They were able to at least erase that for a week and say we put it back on track by beating the Bengals, who are now 0-2. Also, though, you did some damage there with you had the Patriots on that money line, but the baseball was good to you.
Yeah, so I still was able to, make my picks, even though it was kind of a weird card yesterday. Had those huge, giant money lines out there. So I did a little bit of first 5 innings on that. And then also I was a little bit scared of some of those 3-point spreads. I mean, I thought these games were going to come down to, a field goal at, so that's kind of why I went money line there on Tampa Bay and New England also. I mean, I expect them to be a little bit closer. I mean, they're pretty close games, but each time it's like the teams that I had handicapped to win were allowing these comebacks to occur. So I was, nervous all day. And it's the same thing that happened with the Raiders there and their epic fail, giving up a 19-point lead there, at the end of that game too. But yeah, the one that really surprised me was that Dolphins-Ravens game. But there was those quick strikes, the 80, 90 yards here and there. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest surprise to me over the weekend is how effective those offenses were now that they're healthy and maybe a Miami team with the cheetah.
Well, you bring home the 7-2 there yesterday. Great job. And we were good in the morning together on the show. And then we
were
tailed
5-1 on those early plays.
Yeah. And then we got tired or something. I don't know. Maybe we've got 3 old people who are betting and falling asleep or something by the time these afternoon games. They weren't. When the afternoon games got started, it was a little slow go. It didn't look like they were very good games to a certain extent.
Right.
I feel bad about Trey Lance, and that sucks, no doubt about it. His season's done. Fortunately, after what happened, right, with the whole situation with Jimmy G, everyone was like, "What's he doing? What are the Niners doing? They sign him to the." They come out looking. You never want to say, like we said, you're never gonna. I don't talk about injuries, Mindy, with if a guy stays healthy. That is unfair to anyone when you say that, even injury-prone players. I will say this about Trey Lance: he's an inexperienced quarterback that was going down in a position that an inexperienced quarterback looks like he goes down in when he's about to get tackled. Didn't necessarily have a good sliding technique, into the legs and bodies of guys who were going after him. So not that it was his fault. An injury is an injury. It could have happened anyway. It doesn't have, but his positioning in trying to gain the yardage put him in a compromising position that kind of gave him that injury in a way. Hopefully, I'm wrong, kind of, and every injury is fluky, I would think. But to me, it just looked awkward. And again, rushing Trey Lance along when you have a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. Bettors know, Mindy, Jimmy Garoppolo is money to sports bettors. And that's why I think that sports bettors are quick to say there's no problem with having Jimmy Garoppolo in there. Even if he looks like a game manager or whatever, he's been to some of the biggest games around. He's played well in big games. And his winning percentage, his cover percentage, sports bettors like Jimmy G. Okay.
Right.
So I don't know. I felt bad for him, but I think the Niners never going to say, this. I don't even want to not a situation where this is the best thing that could happen or anything like that. They're lucky they have someone like Jimmy G ready to go in the spot right now because they still should be a decent team. They're the Niners. Expectations are high.
I thought they looked good.
And, yeah. So I don't know. Did you think that the games, some of those come, to see Cleveland, the coach says, "Hey kids, come on down to the field. Let's high five and walk on and meet the other team." Jets come back to win on them. One crazy comeback there. We saw Tua. Everything that we talk about Tua, almost make fun of Tua a little bit.
Right.
He just looked terrific. So, any takeaways at all? Tom gets it done at New Orleans. Jameis is not looking great at all.
So, what did you think about Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan, just like you called it. I mean, and here's the thing. I think you're going to see at this age, right? For me, I think you're going to see a situation where Matt Ryan road is going to be a little different. I think Matt Ryan's still good enough to get some things done at home, especially when the Colts are able to run the ball. I still think Ryan can manage certain situations. I had Jacksonville as a premium. I think you knew I was going Jacksonville with our agreement, and we lost the total, no big deal.
Right.
But I think you could tell that was our one loss in the morning on the consensus.
Right.
But,
I mean, we expected the Colts to score.
Yeah. And I think you could tell I was going Jacksonville, in that game just because I talked about, if Jacksonville played Indy every week, they'd, already have 5 Super Bowls.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the one spot that they look good. And, to get shut out, no matter how good you looked in that first game, if you're Matty Ice or Matty Frozen, I don't know what he is at this point, but it erases all the gains that he made or the impression that he made, I think, in the first week when you get shut out at Jacksonville. Now, I think in the back of my mind, I could kind of wave a little bit off this by saying, well, they just don't beat Jacksonville.
Right.
But it's not like you're saying, well, they just don't beat, Tennessee or Buffalo or Kansas City or a good team. Here we're talking about Jacksonville. And give credit to Lawrence. We talked about Lawrence's
getting better
inability, and he was sharp in that one, especially getting off to the hot start that he did, completion percentage wise. I still think maybe Jacksonville's not a great team, so Lawrence maybe doesn't look as good as he might even be. I don't know. I'm not saying he's gonna. If you traded him to a Super Bowl contender, he could lead them along the way. But again, they're not exactly a great program still down there. It's just that they own the Colts. So
right.
And I had premium winners yesterday myself, Mindy, with the Giants. Was a premium winner for me as well. So had some winners. I also had Arizona. I don't know.
I know. We challenged.
I don't know if I got. Yeah, you mentioned. I don't know if I got lucky there or, that's I think what we're going to see from the Raiders. I don't think they can, put teams away. They better. We know now, especially like. What game was it? I think it was one of the afternoons where they had the halftime interview with the coach, and he said, anybody who's watched the NFL today knows that no lead is safe at halftime. Right? So,
I don't know. I was watching the red zone, so I didn't see that coverage. So I don't know exactly who that was. But wasn't that crazy though that we had that many comebacks? And I mean, it was amazing. I mean, it really was. I mean, it was a fun. Again, it started off at halftime. I think all the scores were like 10-3, 7 to. I mean, like it wasn't very much, but yeah. I did not know the 6 touchdowns would occur. I had the under in that game, and like I said, with those quick strikes. There's nothing that you can do but cheer for them. I mean, when you start the game with 100-yard kickoff return, you're kind of like, well, my under is gone for the day.
I know Ben had a video preview of the game on the over, and I had a premium on the under as well. I did think that Baltimore looks to control it on the ground, get the win, whatever,
But Baltimore was the one with the 3 quick strikes there, and then Miami had no choice but to open it up after that.
Yeah, and Baltimore had all those injuries coming in, so great job there. Another one I had Atlanta as a premium in the afternoon. So I had mixed results. I did finish on the leaderboard, squeaked onto the leaderboard for NFL Sunday. I've got a little bit of a winning string going, just a little. Every day, just a little bit of profit. So
that's all you need. Just a little bit of profit every day.
Yeah. That's fine.
It's fun to have a lot of profit, yeah.
But yeah, Mindy, there were some games that turned out to be high scoring because of the crazy finishes. You think of the Jets, Cleveland, you think of the Miami, Baltimore, but right now scoring's down. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if it's an NFL, if it's a problem. I don't think they're going to complain, even if these wild finishes. To me, the wild finishes look like the result of bad football, but bad football can be exciting football, especially in a league that the NFL. Go back to the old commissioner Pete Rozelle. He loved parity, and we're not talking about comedy. We're talking about we're talking about parity, where the teams are more even and more equal. And I think we're gonna maybe get that because you see Bengals starting off with a loss. There was the 2 losses. The Rams, they obviously, had the poor game against Buffalo. Now they're playing an Atlanta team that ends up looking good. So, maybe a little bit of, new blood. I don't know if it's new blood, but those teams are a little bit behind already. And you do have some teams. Any power rating discussion before we continue?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's crazy how they talked about if you're 0-2 going into this season, your chances of hitting the playoffs is not good, and so then you're looking at teams like the Raiders and I believe the Bengals, right? I mean, teams that you expected to probably be in there and fight for contention. I mean, I thought the Raiders might be able to perhaps win their division. I thought they might have been a wild card, but now it's going to be a real wild card to see if they can get back into that. It's going to have to be, failure by the top teams rather than these. It's just the matter of the numbers, just being behind and trying to catch. It's kind of like, what if you're I think we were looking at like the Angels, right? They're like 17 games back with 17 games to go. So it's kind of like one of those things. Like it's just going to be hard for them to get back in it with just a 17-18 game schedule.
And how about that, Mindy? One other game I want to talk, 2 other games I'm going to talk about. I had kind of a slip of the tongue in a way. I was going to say that, Denver, they're not going to boo Russell. They booed Russell Wilson. This poor guy has got to feel like the lowest of the low right now. I'm not here to be a Russell Wilson apologist. Like I said, his behavior has gotten kind of kooky over the last couple of years. Maybe it's even affected his play on the field. Maybe it's his age also. But couldn't get anything done. And again, they talk about the contract. I tried to argue that, hey, he'll be worth just, because of his contributions. But they were booing him. I thought that was pretty crummy again. But, Houston came out, played pretty well against Denver. It took everything they had just to get a low-scoring win. Like I said, scoring is down. The totals are, it
was 9 unders yesterday to 5 overs, I believe. So it has been that way, the first 2 weeks. I think you talked about that last week too, about the.
Yeah, you'd think I would do better. What am I thinking? One under we did have, Mindy. We'll get this last game in, and we'll move on to the other game and talk baseball as well. But we had a premium winner with our consensus with Chicago and Green Bay. We know that the public can own the Green Bay Packers. They're a stock issued team, but everyone jokes that it's really Aaron Rodgers that owns the Packers, and he'll let you know it. And he did look very sharp, as probably, that's the way he's Mr. Bounce Back, right?
Right. That's for sure. I mean, you can't ever count the guy out. I mean, he's really good. Like you said, whether or not you have a love-hate relationship with him or not, he's very good at his craft.
And I like the guy in Germany, the
Oh yeah,
guy who looks
the
like
doppelganger.
the guy who looks like Rogers sitting there drinking his Heineken or something while watching the game. He went to the game for the first time, and everybody said, "Hey, what are you doing? Drinking beer? You got a game to play." But that was funny, a little funny touch right there. So, anyways, you guys, we previewed it just already. If you're just joining us, thank you. Look at the crowd we have in here, Mindy. Again, yesterday we had our most popular show ever, and if it's Monday, we're going to be a little bit down probably, but we're happy to have all of you, and we want to see you in the chat. So make sure that you are chatting with us. And in fact, Mindy, I don't know if you saw in the chat. So we had a commenter ask us while we were with Tiffany that what is your best way to bet for beginners, and Tiffany came right back and said what a good strategy is, and that's to just stay consistent with your unit size early on and try to hit a percentage and add money to your roll. And then if you are starting to feel confident, it looks like then maybe you can start to slowly increase, but don't go crazy right away. Even if you doubled your bankroll on the first week, don't necessarily, I think what Tiffany's saying is, don't go in and bet that whole bankroll. Sure, if you want to increase it by, your bet size by 10% or something.
Right.
If you're doing, $50 bets, you want to go up to, 66. If you're doing 55ers, you're going up to 66, something like that. You feel good about a game 77, but maybe not start going, 110 right away or 220 if you've doubled up and playing a small betting amount.
Well, that's the thing is like no game is better than the other. There's never a sure thing. I know you want to say there's a sure thing, but we know there never is. Because if there was sure things, I would make one bet per day and put my whole bankroll on that. And we know that that's not going to be the case. And so that's all we do is try to give a strategy of how you can increase that bankroll. And then once you get up, like, don't suddenly all of a sudden you start doing parlays because you see the guy on Reddit that put in his, 20 team that won. It's just going to be one of those that you just have to be very disciplined with betting. It's a game of failure. So you're going to probably lose, 4 out of your 7 days, maybe. I mean, not all the time, but I'm just saying statistically, to be really good in this business, it's to hit 57, 60% over the long run. And so that's what we try to do.
All right, let's talk about the rest of the games. Get to our free picks rapid fire. We already talked about Tennessee Buffalo. You can rewind and get started with that game. We had a pick from Tiffany and a pick from Mindy, and I just sat on the sideline. So I guess I'm going to have to pick this next game with Minnesota. Like I said, these are two good games. I think it's okay with 2 games on Monday night. We got 2 decent matchups. This one, I mean, look, we already know Buffalo is, top 5, top 3, somewhere in, top 2, somewhere right there. Tennessee's probably still pretty good. I mean, playoff caliber, playoff contender. We can say what we want about Tannehill, but he's been in some big games. He's won some good games too, and they've proven themselves to be maybe even a bit of an overachiever. But they've performed, made the playoffs and whatnot. And here we've got 2 teams that we certainly have an Eagles team that right now it's only been 2 weeks. Maybe they were talking about who is the best team in the East, but after 2 weeks, and the Eagles haven't even played their second game, they are already a decisive favorite in the division, going up against a Minnesota team with a lot of momentum, a lot of talk about an improved team because of a hot young coach. And, Cousins certainly, look, here's another guy kind of just gets it done, right? And maybe the magic right now, we'll see. Minnesota, look, it's still going to be tough. I think O'Connell will have growing pains as a coach, but the positive vibes might carry them through a little bit And right now, Minnesota, I certainly think everyone thinks of them as a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the same thing with Cousins. I mean, for me, I always kind of feel like you never really know what you're going to get. He's a guy that will go out and throw 5 touchdowns, and then a guy next time that will come back and have 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. So, I mean, if he can get out of that, and again, maybe new coaching will help. But look, both of these teams here are going for that 2-0 start. And then, I mean, that will really kick off their season, especially if we think about like an Eagles team that looks to head perhaps that division there. But I see this one is probably going to be tight as well. To me, it looks like it's going to be one of these that we kind of talked about yesterday. It feels to me just that it's going to be run heavy here. And then I think it comes down to, well, maybe we think that the Lions might be better offensively this year. So maybe it's not that much of an interesting battle that they had that strange matchup with the Lions, the Eagles, because that's the only thing that kind of, hinders me is like, oh, well, the Lions put up a ton of points on them and the Eagles didn't really show up, defensively. But if you minus the last 9 minutes of that game, the Eagles pretty much handled their business here too. So yeah, I mean, I think both of these teams are much improved. I think they're going to stick to the ground game here. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to look at the under 50.5 here on this one.
Well, we had quite a few consensus plays yesterday. Like I said, I think we had mixed. The morning was good. The afternoon, not so good. Maybe maybe we're not going to have a premium today in football, Mindy, together with our consensus. I'm going to go over in this one. I think that Hurts can produce a little bit. I think I don't know. I'm saying it's closely rated. We can agree there. I mean, this
Well,
spread
Vegas
right
didn't
now.
that spread out otherwise, right?
Right, 2.5. I don't think there's any threes out there. Which I don't know if you have any necessarily comment on the. You don't have to give away the side if you.
I
Have
did look last night on the odds, and there was a 2 on there, and there was also a 3. So it's going to be interesting to see where this one heads throughout the day. I mean, so I think there might be a lot of people jumping on the Eagles at -2, and a lot of folks jumping on the Vikings at +3. So
right.
I think Vegas probably has a really good number here for them. To split the money evenly, which is their whole goal in this business anyway.
Yeah, but again, with Philly, like I said, I think they're starting to get more talk, and I know we do. I think we all agree that Minnesota is good, but here you're really just saying, really that if you put these two teams on a neutral field, that they were kind of even, and I'm not sure that a lot of people see that way. So again, I don't know. There just seems to be a little bit of support there for Minnesota. I don't want to tip my hand either. I might be looking one way, I might look the other on the side. So I'm trying to be a little bit vague, but I think the proximity of the two teams, talent-wise or spread-wise, with this game being just about a field goal game, that may help me get to this total to go over. We could see something. I don't know if it'll be because again, I think when some of the bad teams get involved in some of those games that we're seeing with the crazy finishes, we're seeing the bad teams get more in those type of games.
Right.
Here with two quality teams, I'm not sure that one team is going to get out to a huge lead and maybe have one come back. This one, I'm hoping we want exciting Monday night. Right. I'm hoping that it's more back and forth and everything. I hope so. I do have the over. You have the under. We're in disagreement here. That's okay.
Challenge.
As we have the two old ladies that bet and stuff on our first game. Just rewind it if you want to see our prediction from the first game with Mindy and Tiffany, and I sat it out because I'll just go with probably a premium in there. Head on over to our website, Tony'sPicks.com. Use that promo code TonyT at checkout. I always say on our show, Mindy, why not pair up you and I on the 2-for-1 capper? But the way you and Tiffany crushed it this weekend, maybe you want to get hooked up with the two old ladies that bet and stuff over there and get a package with them for this week. Get the 7-day. All right. Thanks for
sounds like he was on some of those teams that had those bad teams come from behind and backdoor cover, huh?
Yep. Thanks for everyone in the chat. We love having you today. More and more people in our chat. So excited to have 36 live viewers right now, man. We have big goals and expectations. Mindy, we have a post-production meeting every day analyzing how we can get you to stick around. And I think the best way to get you to stick around is keep rolling with more free picks. So let's go ahead and start to get into the baseball. Thanks for all your comments there as well on the football. And I know you've already looked at next week, but we'll start to get into next week's football, starting with college football tomorrow and NFL. It'll be a great, great week. I know the college card looks pretty good. And, of course, NFL on Thursday night on Amazon. I mean, hey, as long as my packages from Amazon come in one day, I'll keep that subscription so I don't.
So did you have trouble with your volume syncing? Mine was bad. I know that was kind of like the major concern that I've read throughout the universe with sound on that.
Okay, I thought it was just maybe the my feed or TV. There was a couple of intervals where there were no sound, or I don't know. I didn't mind it, but I thought that was me. So I didn't know. Were there some issues?
Yeah, so there was issues with the folks talking, and then the sound would come in after. So basically, as I was watching, I could hear, like, say, the pass being batted down before I'd actually see it. And so then I switched over to the next gen stats, and on that one, the sound was fine, but yet the way they frame it, it's like you only get like half of the game. So I'm like, didn't really like that feature so much either. So I hope we get that all straightened out here.
And there is, other people who are doing live betting. It's tough because you want to watch the game flow and everything. But really, if you're doing live betting, make sure you have one of the pick the fastest app if you can. Try to figure out which app is going fastest with the information. You'll see that the play usually is going to come in on your phone or computer even before the video, because even with the cable, it seems to be a little bit faster. So it's important. You should be watching the game flow as well. But before you make a bet, unless you do like me, if I bet an in-game, usually I wait for the commercial. So in case I don't want to be betting thinking, wow, look at this line, and the line is already moved because the next play has already happened. It was a 45-yard gain, right? So,
Right.
All right. Let's get into the baseball. Thanks again for all the comments. We have just a short card today, but I think we can come up with probably a few consensus picks here for our new service that we can also promote, because if you don't catch our consensus picks here on the show, you can always get our consensus picks up on tonyspicks.com. Maybe we could just touch on a little bit with it being Monday and was having just a few games that we're almost done with, Mindy, when we get into it. But Mindy, over at Tony's Picks now, we're going to give our best plays. Since we've been doing the show, we've kind of kidded a little bit when we've had games that we've agreed on. Said, oh, look at this. Maybe we can get a parlay together. We'll do a 2-teamer, a 3-teamer, a 4-teamer. Well, the GM and Tony came to us and said, forget all that. It's too hard to keep track of. Let's just post the plays on the site. And if anybody misses them, Mindy, they can go over to tonyspicks.com and pick up our plays. And like I said, we struggled in the afternoon, but we did have some nice winners as well. So we're putting up our plays. Tell me about this.
So we went ahead and did yesterday an early morning 5-pack, and we went 4-1. And then we did a late afternoon 3-pack. And then we also did a standalone for the Sunday night game. And we did have some takers that purchased our pick for that. And we came out victorious with the under in that game for Chicago and the Packers. So we definitely appreciate your support with, helping us, keep this thing rolling and staying on the air and having this wonderful website that we have at tonyspicks.com.
Yeah, and with all due respect to our GM and Tony, I mean, we're here to sell picks. That's part of our income, if you will, the commissions that we earn by selling our picks. And look, all of our picks are documented right there, like you see on the screen. This isn't Twitter. We can't just post green check marks, edit it, put out a new tweet or whatever. We're a third party joining with Tony and the GM. So they grade our plays to see how we're doing, and we can't change anything. Once
Right.
they're in there, they're in there. If we go on a 20-game losing streak,
They're all there.
So we're here to prove ourselves every day and give you the free picks, rapid fire as well, so you can get a feel for our handicapping and things like that. And if you want to support us, like Brian,
Thanks, Brian.
what you can do, like I said, I know I tried to push our long term, our 3-day, 7-day, and if that's just a little bit too much, but you want to do 1 day and you want to get the consensus, like I said, if you miss our consensus plays, you can go on and get our plays right on the website. So look, you could go back on YouTube, you could search it all out, but we're going to give you the free plays, but you can also just subscribe to them as well, and it gives us a little bit of support. So we appreciate that part of it. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. All right, Mindy, we'll start to get into these picks right now. Let's take a look at today's baseball card. We got some exciting things going on. Certainly, it looks like we'll start with Minnesota and Cleveland. Cleveland certainly with a little bit more to play for right now than Minnesota, but this is still a tightly rated game with Quantrill, a -115 favorite, and the total 7 over 25.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that, the Twins are going to have to try to win their division now. They're pretty much out of the wild card, but they're 6 games behind the Guardians. And, they really need to get to work here if they're going to have, a chance. The Guardians, they do have, that nice bullpen. It's one of those that I think Sonny Gray, I think he's a great pitcher. I like where he stands with his ERA. He goes later innings. He had, 15 strikeouts versus the Guardians here this season. Twins finally got a little bit of a victory. I think they're going to stay hot here. I think they're going to keep rolling in this long 5-game series. These 5-game series kill me. They're hard to handicap.
So you'll be on Minnesota, and I agree with you what you said about some of the pitching with these guys. Maybe Sonny Gray wants to join the old people who do things still, because he's still cranking away. And we know with Quantrill, he has been sharp as far as them winning games with Quantrill pitching. So you will have to overcome that. But I think I like the pitching in this game, considering how both guys are doing of late. Gray has been really hot with a 2.12 ERA in his last 3 starts, and Quantrill continues to be just, I would say, sharp and consistent. He's not going to be an overwhelming or dominating pitcher right now, and I don't know if he ever will be, but if you go out there and give a solid start every time, I'm going to go under in this game. So Mindy's on Minnesota, and I'm on the under. All right, a big game as Seattle keeps going and trying to solidify their position. They're looking good. They're a pretty big favorite here. In fact, there's a pretty big move on this game. I'll just adjust it. Opened as high as 147. I'm looking now. This is starting to dip under 120. I think that means there's solid support here for the Angels, but I'm not so sure if that's the right move. I think it's a sharp move. What do you know about this game?
Oh, I'm really surprised at that move, actually. I thought the -147, what I saw was, pretty fairly priced here, especially with the way that Seattle hits the ball. I know LA, they've beat them here a couple of games, but it hasn't been anything like, out of the ordinary, I guess. And the Mariners, they still have that 5-game lead here over Baltimore. Gilbert, on the mound, he's like 7-1 with a 2.95 ERA here versus the Angels as well. And like I talked about, Angels are 17 games back, about 17 games ago. So not quite sure. I'm not sure about this whole matchup. I'm kind of flustered right now because I'm like, I don't understand why it's gone down so much, especially when Seattle, Seattle's averaging 1.24 home runs per game. I like Seattle here, and I love them at -120.
I got to agree with you. I think this move, who's Suarez to be, I know he's done pretty well of late, but come on, Logan Gilbert's been one of the hottest pitchers in the majors right now over the last a few games, right? So look, this one could end being a pitcher's duel. That
Because I'm like,
total
what are we
definitely-
missing?
I think it's just a sharp move on the Angels. I'm not sure that this is going to be a public move, especially being an early morning mover. Maybe we can get. Maybe there's value now. Maybe people will come in. Seattle's the playoff bound team, right? We know
Yeah.
that. So let's just take this discount while we
Yeah.
can and put it as a consensus play. Because, like I said, looking at the market right now, 120 is the worst price that we can get. I'm showing 111s, 115s, 117s out there, Mindy. So let's just take this. I will say that even though that total says 8, and I think some major books are at 8, I'd say a majority of them are at 7.5 right now. And I think we can agree that with Gilbert, if also with Suarez, look, he's nothing special, but he's been okay this season, and he's definitely been better of late. And you do have the Angels have gone under in 6 of his last 8 starts, and Seattle, they're kind of on an under push as well when going on the road. So my pick is going to be on the Mariners, but I think it's going to be a West Coast low scoring. It's a day game, so let's just put that in our consensus zone and get a nice price at 120, shall we?
Sounds good.
The Cubs. Let's moving into the night card now. The games that Tony doesn't like, the 6:40 Eastern, 3:40 Pacific starts. But Cubs will be at Miami with Wade Miley going up against Cabrera for Miami. And Miami, the favorite here, at about $1.35 or so. Looks like maybe has gone down, and the total definitely a juiced 7 under.
Okay, I got a little bit of buffering there, so sorry. But yeah, we got Cubs versus Marlins. Cubs lead this series 2-1. You got lefty Wade Miley on the mound. He's been pretty good this season with his off-speed junk that he throws. He's fun to watch, though. But Cubs have been pretty hot at the plate. I guess they've been scoring a couple runs here, but I think not so fast here in this one. I like Cabrera on the mound for the Marlins. He's been really solid this season. Pitched 5 shutout innings versus the Cubs last time. That Cubs bullpen is less than stellar here, and I think the Cubs here recently versus the Marlins, though they've only put up about 6 runs in their last 3 meetings versus the Marlins, even though they've been a little bit hotter of late. I like Cabrera on the mound with the Marlins. I liked it at 150 last night, so I like it again, minus 140 here in this one.
Okay. And I think I will take a look at the under, though, in this one. I know what you're saying about, putting up a few runs over the last couple of days, but still I look a little bit deeper than that. The Cubs have gone under in 10 of their last 11 overall, and Miami has gone under in 10 of their last 13 as a favorite. I think both these guys, even though they haven't started a lot of games this season for various reasons, I mean, Miley's only making his 7th start with the Cubs right now in this one, but does have a 2.25 ERA over his last 3 starts, and Cabrera has that 2.7 ERA for the season in 11 starts. I think you like Cabrera a little bit here, and my worries would be on the bullpens, certainly, but I think I'm going to go under in this one. So Mindy's got Miami, and I've got the under. All right. Houston and Tampa Bay, pretty good matchup here of playoff-bound teams. So Tampa Bay is actually going to come a favorite in this one against Houston, with Rasmussen going up against Garcia. What do you think? This is a good game. Maybe see these teams battle in the playoffs.
Right. Well, I mean, Houston's 7-3 in the last 10 games in Tampa Bay, and they've played really well over the last couple weeks here. We talk about these big money lines, playing the run lines because of that, and they're actually one of those teams that actually have been able to cover those run lines, winning by more than the 2 runs, unlike, say, the Mets and the Braves that have kind of struggled doing that over the duration here with those, as being huge, giant favorites.
Plus 12 units this season, Mindy, for Houston on the run line.
Awesome. And then it's also that the Rays, they've lost the last 3 of 6, I think. And actually the, Astros, like I said, they've at least put up 5 runs in the last 6 of their 7 games. I'm going to look at Houston here being plus money. I'm pretty excited about that, actually.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, this could be, playoff matchup, certainly. With Garcia as a starter, Houston is 16-9 with him as a starter. And, just obviously a high quality matchup. I mean, that's why we're also seeing the game rated as closely as we do. So I don't think there's any fault in, one way or the other. I mean, it's almost a toss up, really, especially considering Tampa Bay is at home. I like both these pitchers in this game. Rasmussen, mark of consistency, certainly. 18-7 in his 25 starts. Talking about Tampa Bay's record, he's 10-5 overall, so he's been pretty sharp. He's got a 2.77 ERA this season, a 2.81 ERA in his last 3 starts. Garcia hasn't been as good as he has, but Houston has gone under in 13 of their last 21 with a couple of pushes. Tampa Bay has gone under in 6 of their last 8 at home. And this series has gone under in 21 of the last 31 games. So Houston's bullpen has been pretty outstanding. I think that's part of your handicap as well. They've got an ERA of 1.6 over their last 3 games. Rasmussen 6-1-1 to the under in his last 8 starts. The Astros 15-7-2 to the under, last 24 overall. So gave a lot of numbers on the under. I got to go with the under again here in Houston and Tampa Bay. Okay. We got to find some agreements though. So
I know, right?
Consensus plays. Let's try Detroit and Baltimore. Baltimore, they're in a desperate situation right now. I mean, it's they've got to go now. I mean, they've got to start winning if they have any hope to catch the third wild card spot. I mean, I don't know, didn't check today. There's like 4 or 5 games out. I know that. So every game's a must win for this team right now. At least they've got Detroit here, who they're a pretty big favorite against, and maybe they can get something going here.
Yeah, they really need to take advantage here. The Tigers have only won 1 game in their last 2 series. And now they're on this 6-game road trip that might be a little tough for them. They're also battling Oakland for the worst record in Major League Baseball right now. And, it's going to be a good outing, I think, here for Baltimore. Alexander for Detroit. He gave up 4 runs versus KC in his last outing. He also has a 10.06 ERA in his last 4 starts. So, I mean, this looks like a time that Baltimore, they'll really take advantage of this to stay alive in that playoff race. I mean, Baltimore's won 8 of its last 10 versus lefties at home also. I'm going to go with those Orioles on the run line, minus 105 today. And you get a little bit of plus money with that.
Okay, yeah, sure. And the Orioles, they're just worried about winning the game, but Mindy will lay the handicap with Baltimore at that big price. Yeah. Look, I got to agree with what you're saying about these numbers right now for the pitchers. I mean, Alexander, a 7.71 ERA in his last 3 starts. He's lost them all. Meanwhile, for Wells, he's already made 22 starts. Last 3 starts, so 6.10 ERA, so they haven't really been that solid. The bullpen's also been pretty solid, but look, how about Detroit? You mentioned going on the road, and some of they're woeful on the road, certainly, and Alexander's numbers as well. How about Detroit 8-1-1 to the over in their last 10 games on the road? So I think this one will go over as well. I've got over in Detroit and Baltimore. All right, Mindy, we can't find any agreements, but let's look at another game here. I kind of
just got to keep plugging away.
I kind of struck out taking all those runs yesterday on the show. Didn't quite work out. I think ended up a loser with doing a lot of those. Seemed like the ones where I didn't take the big handicap is where I was able to get some winners on our show. But here we have to deal with another 350 favorite with Wright against Abbott. I probably would do it again, but what do you say?
Yeah, so, Abbott for the Nationals, he only had 2 runs given up last time versus Baltimore in his last outing. He does have a 2.0 ERA coming out of that bullpen. And then Atlanta, on the other hand, they've won 4 out of their last 5 games. Kyle Wright, he's only allowed 1 run and 3 hits in his last outing. So it's one of those, like, I expect Atlanta here to probably roll. But I'm not really going to look at them on the run line here today, just because it seems like, Washington has enough bats, I think, to keep it close. And we've kind of seen that, like we talked about with these, with the Braves and the Mets, they haven't really been covering that run line so much. I'm going to look for this one to be a low scorer. I'm looking for it to stay under that total of 8.5 today.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the funny thing about you talk about a 350, right? If I gave you this, Washington is 1-5 in Abbott's last 6 starts, and Atlanta with Wright 13-1 in his last 14 starts. To me, that says like, oh wow, this should be like -700. If you think about that, now nobody's ever going to do that, and I don't want to necessarily lay this big price or maybe a run line with it, because like I said, I'd rather almost take 2.5 runs at -125 or so. But I'm going to agree with you in this one. I think I'm looking to go under as well. Wright's been pretty solid this season with 17 of his 26 starts have gone under. His ERA is just around 3.2 this season. Hasn't been that strong of late, but he hasn't had to be because he's gotten run support. They've been winning his game. So he's gone out there with just a lot of confidence and just deal, because he's a guy that can deal, some innings as well. So we do need a contribution from Corey Abbott, who definitely is not. They're not winning when Corey Abbott pitches, but they're not winning when anybody pitches. So Atlanta's got that super bullpen. I'm hoping it's just a dominating performance by Atlanta. They have gone under in 6 of their last 8, and Wright has gone under in 13 of 20, and that's for me is good enough as well. Let's mark that as our second consensus play with Washington and Atlanta to go under. 8.5? Can we get 8? Yeah, we definitely can get 8.5. Looks like it might be juiced to 115, but we catch that on our consensus package today. Okay, this is a real good one right here between playoff. Well, Milwaukee's got work to do. They're battling right now. We know the Mets are in good position, but really just a high-profile, high-leverage game, if you will, with Scherzer and Burns.
Yeah. So, the Mets lead the series 2-1 in this one. Scherzer's back on the mound. Brewers have Corbin Burns. I mean, you expect this one to be, a pretty fun one. Brewers actually won this last meeting 10-2. I'm not so sure it's going to be something as in the 10-2 range here, today. I think Mets actually have a little bit hotter bats here. I think the Brewers pitching, to me, they've been giving up way too many runs here as of late. I like Scherzer to come back in this one. I like the Mets to stay hot. I'm going to take them. I think they were sitting at like -110. I'll take the Mets.
I agree. Take the Mets. You mentioned the bats. They're hitting 35 points higher than the Brewers over the last 10 games. Burns, for whatever reason, he's shown vulnerability over the last several starts. He has not been as good in the second half of the season. Still has an ERA under 3, but really it's under 4 in his last 3 starts. So he's also gone over in 7 of his last 11. So for me, I think Scherzer, he's got a 2.26 ERA this season. He's also has a 2.89 ERA. The Mets have lost his last 3 starts, even though he's pitched very well, because he hasn't got very much run support. So, but I agree. I think it's going to be a tight game. Could be low scoring as well. But for me, I'm going to agree with you here. Let's keep our consensus going and take the Mets at a nice price, maybe at even money, maybe -$1.05 or so. So cool. We got 3 agreements here.
Look at us go.
All right, head on over to this one now. San Francisco and Colorado, a couple teams still playing out the string. Giants would need a miracle at this point. I mean, they're mathematically alive, I think, but I probably don't see them getting anything going here. So they are a slight favorite at Colorado. Jake Junis, $1.25 against Cool right now, and we're in Colorado, so 11.5 shade to the under.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a wild one here today in Colorado. Junis has this big 4.15 ERA, and Cool has an even bigger ERA sitting at 5.33. Junis, he's 0-2 in his last 2 starts with a no decision versus the Rockies last time. But in that game, he had a 4.05 ERA. Cool, on the other hand, 3-3 at home, 4.67 ERA, and then 8.17 ERA in his last 5 games. I mean, he's given up 9 home runs in 5 games. I mean, so again, if you look at San Francisco, I know we talk about that they're really not great at hitting, right? I mean, like they're not like this big, huge, powerful team that they used to be, being able to hit folks in at a 0.800 clip. We're not looking at that anymore. They're sitting more around 600. But it's one of those that if you take a look at it, San Francisco's run differential on the year, it's only sitting at like -4 for all the grief that we give them. When you look at a Colorado team, their run differential is -133. So teams have outscored them just by an absolute ton this year. I'm looking this one to be a big high scoring game. Both of these pitchers are sketchy at best. So I'm going to go ahead and take the over 11.5 here in this one.
Well, if you look at these pitchers on the surface, you got to be thinking that way. I mean, Junis has an ERA close to 8 over his last 3 starts, and Cool hasn't been much better with a 6.5 ERA over his last 3 starts. So those are pretty bad numbers, no doubt about it. And you do have right now, anyway, I mean, like I said, these teams playing out the string. Colorado can't win with Cool really as the pitcher, but I don't know. Junis really has been really woeful in the last 2 games, especially. So I'll take Colorado just because I'm getting like even money or even plus money. Don't like this one too much, but I'll take Colorado. You take the over. We got that one covered. All right, little breaking news today, but I think we saw it coming. But Clayton Kershaw is going to be returning. See these Dodger pitchers go down a little bit. They have to nurse it a little bit, get healthy again. Hopefully Kershaw is back and ready to go for this stretch drive. They're going to need all those great pitchers, even though they have plenty of pitching. We want to see Clayton in there for the playoffs. So taking on, is Kelly pitching or is that a typo?
Yeah, I know, because Kelly pitches for the Diamondbacks every day if you watch our show. But yeah, I think he's officially pitching here today. He gave up 2 home runs versus the Dodgers there last time out with 3.01 ERA. But he does tend to struggle a little bit from with the Dodgers. I think he's actually, like the Diamondbacks have lost like 8 out of 10. But then they're the ones that surprise us versus Kershaw all the time. We talk about it a lot on the other show during the afternoon game day picks with Tony because he's a Dodgers fan. And then, we've seen these Arizona Diamondbacks beat up on them a couple times here, this season. So for me, it's going to be, what kind of Kelly starting pitching are we going to get today? We know Kershaw's going to be good. He tossed 7 scoreless his last outing versus the Diamondbacks. So it's one of those, like, I hope that the Kelly that shows up is the 3 ERA pitcher rather than, like the 5 ERA pitcher here today. So I'm expecting this one to be close. Again, this is not my favorite pick of the day. It's probably my least favorite on the card, but I'm going to take those Diamondbacks today at the plus 1.5 runs on the run line.
Okay, well, you'll have to fade a little bit of a stat there that Arizona, again, you're getting the 1.5, so they could still cover, but they have, with Kelly starting against the Dodgers, he has gone 1-10 in his last 11 starts against LA, including 0-3 of the 5.06 ERA in his last 3 starts against them. So we know that Kershaw's been back now for 3 starts and did get that win, had his best outing. You mentioned the 7 innings against Arizona. So I don't know why there was a question if he was going to be the pitcher or not, but just in the game. But certainly overnight, they were undecided, and now Kershaw is the starter, and he's a huge favorite here. So I think for me, I think the Dodgers can hit Kelly in this one, and I think they'll be the ones scoring runs possibly. So if Arizona's going to do it, Mindy, they're going to have to keep up to get that run line, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that they will possibly do that. The Dodgers have gone over in 7 of their last 8 games at home, with the other game was a push. So Kershaw's been hot, and Kelly has been pretty decent as well, but the Arizona bullpen has been pretty bad. So I'm going to go over 7.5 in the game with Arizona and the Dodgers. So, all right, that'll probably do it. I don't know if I got anything else for you, unless you have it. I think we have 3. I thought we had 4, but I think we have 3 that we agree on. Oh, you're marking them down.
Well, you kind of mentioned maybe we might have had consensus on the Twins, but I still think you took a total on that one. So otherwise, our consensus is going to be on the Mariners on the money line, the Braves under 8.5, and then the Mets at minus 110-ish.
All right. And remember, if you ever miss our consensus picks, we now offer them up over at Tony'sPicks.com, Mindy. Like I said, we want to make sure, if you can't catch the show, we want to make sure that you have access to our consensus picks. So we've just turned them into a premium package. We're not here to tell you you have to buy the same picks that you're going to get on the show here. But if you miss them and you want it an easier way to get the picks, head on over to Tony'sPicks.com and subscribe to over there, Mindy. If you click on the All Cappers tab, you'll see Morning Steam. That's where we're going to offer our consensus picks each day. We had mixed results, I think, over the weekend, but we definitely had some winners as well. Like I said, especially with our early card, and we also agreed on some MMA picks that went 3-1 over the weekend, 4-1, I think it was actually over the weekend. So our first weekend I thought was pretty okay over there with the consensus picks, and you can pick those up over at Tony'sPicks.com, or the 2-for-1 capper promotion, where you can match up Mindy and I, or Tiffany and Mindy. Let's do Tiffany and Mindy today, since they're both hot, had a good weekend. You just go to the 2-for-1 capper promotion and you put up both cappers on there, and you get a discounted price. You can pick Tiffany and Mindy and pick up a 3-day package here to get you through some baseball for $149, or get the 7-day, take it all the way through next week's football as well. So I don't know if you got anything else, Mindy. Just the light card. We got the 2 NFL. I think that's what we're all looking forward to today. Right. The 2 NFL and the abbreviated baseball card. But tomorrow we got to start looking at next week's football schedule. The college schedule is packed, so we're going to be busy all week with those. Is that it for us?
I think that's it. We did it.
All right. For Mindy Hahn, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.